So, who are you again?
Well, you were here not too long ago. My name's Mike Arcuri. I'm from the Office team. And my role has to do with business intelligence and functionality related to business intelligence, making it into Office 12, what we call as a code name Office 12.
Yeah.
And
we're here in the brand new Building 36, which you
Yeah.
can't tell from my little vantage point here, but it's pretty nice digs.
Well, yeah, they say this looks a little bit like a battleship because there's a lot of gray concrete outside the building.
I call it the office prison.
I like Battleship better than Office Prison. But with the amount of rain we've been getting lately, I hope it does float, you know.
The Ark.
Right, the Ark.
The Office Ark. We'll just start floating away.
Right.
So, anyway, so we're going to talk about Office 12, I guess.
Right, right. And last time you were here, we did a video and we recorded Business Scorecard Manager, SharePoint. We showed Excel services for the first time to Channel 9 viewers, where you could interact with spreadsheets, all thin, HTML and JavaScript, through SharePoint interface. And then we also showed some stuff in the new Excel client where it could connect to SQL Server analysis services, take advantage of the new SQL 2005 features that were there. And we did some pivoting and slicing and dicing that data in Excel.
Oh yeah, the pivot tables were awesome.
Right, yeah.
But I was linking over to the Excel team and saying, man, the pivot tables that's worth $300 right there, or whatever.
Glad you think so.
Yeah. So what do you do here? What's your job?
Well, my
I see
title
you have
is...
a bunch of patent cubes, so you're
I've
probably
been
a pretty
around the
smart
Office
guy.
team for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And I've worked on core user interface. I worked for Julie Larson Green at one point. I think you did a video with her.
Yeah. She's awesome.
I worked on... Yeah, she is. Worked on...
She should be an executive.
I worked on, let's see, front page, the V1 of SharePoint.
So you're the guy who front page, huh?
At one point,
I used to be a big front page user, almost
Great.
on an MVP level. So.
Oh, great, great. So I did a bunch of different things and, wrote a few patents and stuff like that.
Very cool.
As a program manager, and now I manage a team of program managers, and we build Excel services, and we build the charting engine that goes into PowerPoint, Excel, Word.
On a team of program managers, who gets the blame?
Well, I take blame for things that come up, and individuals who own things take blame at their level. And, but we try to do things right, so there's not a lot of blame to go around. As best we can, anyway.
Very cool. So what do you have here to show me? You have some colorful charts here.
Wow. So what you see here is some graphical information displayed through color, through what we call data bars, and highlighting. And all these things together we talk about as the new improved conditional formatting in Excel. So for years you've been able to do something very simple, like if a value is greater than this amount, then use a red font or change the point size. But that was very precise. You had to be quite creative, and you had to be a bit of a formula whiz to do interesting things with that. And so what we have now is very powerful. And at the very end of our last video, we started to pull this data together. It's mortgage data about housing prices, different states. And so I kind of picked up where we left off here. But if you want to see, should I rewind 3 or 4 steps so
we
you
can
see
link to the first video that we did together.
Great.
People,
Great.
That's the nice thing, if people care. Office, though, I mean, people are starting to see it for the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, out in the real world, outside of this, the prison, the Office 12 prison. BR's got to get mad at me for doing that. But,
Beta 1 is available, and we have customers using it. We also have what we call a TAP program, technology adoption, where certain customers have been working with us for 9 months, 10 months, and giving us feedback as they try the builds. So.
Yeah, well, my friends have started getting it, and they're just really excited. They said it's very surprising. They didn't expect to be surprised by Office.
The amount of change, you mean?
The amount of change and just the coolness of it. I think it's going to be the hit of the year, if you will, and maybe even take away from Windows Vista as
Well, I don't think we have to take away from each other. The more good software we put out, the better it is for everyone. But I agree with you. This is the most significant release of Office that I've worked on in those 10 years that I was talking about in terms of new capabilities and just the depth and the breadth of great new features that are there. And I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
And we just...
Well, I think we're just sort of been trained by the Office team to sort of expect a certain amount of features, but not radical new stuff, you know. The last few releases have been like, oh, what's new? You know, you have to really dig around to find something. But here, everything's new. The UI is new, and then even once you get used to that, it takes an hour or two to get used to the new ribbon bar. You start digging in, and you know, tables are completely different in Word, and Excel has like, wow, the pivot tables are like awesome.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, so you work in the Excel. You really you focus on Excel. You're not going to show.
Well, Excel and SharePoint, yeah, and I will probably stay within those two products today for the most part.
Well, we're getting around to the other teams. So
right.
Probably over the next couple of months, there's going to be several Channel 9 videos on Word.
New graphics
Well,
and
even today we
PowerPoint.
have Word PDF.
Oh, terrific!
The guy who did the Word PDF feature. So, but that's pretty granular. But
Okay.
we'll be getting around to all the teams over the next couple of months, so this fits right in.
Great.
So anyway, so we have Excel 12 here.
So here we are in Excel 12, and there's some of these new conditional formats applied, so we can visually analyze our data. And what you see here is different states and median housing prices for these states in different years, 2002, 2003, 2004. And then the amount that the prices have appreciated, and then people who have moved into versus out of the state, so total migration rate for the state.
So the red is moving out?
Yeah, so,
moving in?
right, exactly.
Okay.
So I set up some simple rules to just highlight, red to green on high appreciation. I used a data bar format here on the prices. And the great thing about these formats is you really can apply them with 1 or 2 clicks from the ribbon. So when I went to apply my gradient, I just picked gradient and selected one of these 3 color scales, and it applied to everything in this range, because the data itself sets the endpoints, so to speak. So you don't have to get in there and say, greater than 23% should be dark green, and greater than 10% should be light green, and 5% should be yellow. It just looks at all the data in your range and applies it. So it's much simpler to actually spot what you might call exceptions or outliers in the data.
How long did it take to do that in the old version?
Something like this, to be honest, something like this would have been hours of work, because you would, the data bars weren't doable, so you would have had to use a separate chart to do that kind of thing. And then the red and green highlighting would have been doable, maybe 15 minutes of formulas. But then to really do a nice gradient of color behind the cells, that would have been quite a lot of work.
Right.
And there are consulting companies today who build really nice spreadsheets in Excel where you can visually look at a lot of information quickly, where you can spot exceptions, where it all graphically hangs together as a professional looking package. We want everybody to be able to do that.
Are those guys really mad at you guys?
So far they've been really excited, because when they see the new capabilities, they're already thinking at the next level. Okay, well great, so if a bunch of business users can do this kind of stuff, well, what can I, as an expert in this area who's willing to write some code or customize spreadsheets, I can push it even farther. And so, no, so far they haven't seemed to be upset at all. They seem to be excited by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how did you do the, what do you call these things again?
Data bars.
Data bars, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And how did you do those?
Okay, well, it would be fairly easy for me to just reapply these. So if I come in here, I can clear...
Okay.
I'll just clear the conditional formatting rules from the sheet. And now we're back to raw data.
So that's how it would look in the old Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
Nice and boring.
Right. Although even so, we have some new information here, because we are, I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, but there's like a light blue and a white and a dark blue, and this is hanging together as one region of data.
Right.
And it actually
and
has
those were automatically formatted using the table.
Right.
picker.
Using this format as table
Here,
thing.
hold
So
on.
you apply not only a format to your table, but it helps Excel recognize this thing as a meaningful range of data.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a lot of fun to play with, and it makes doing a format like this click, 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 and you're done. You know, where the old version you'd have to highlight rows and do the little color, and then you'd say, oh, that looks too weird, and then you'd have to redo it.
Or if you had to add new data, that would be really tough because you had hand formatted rows, and now you insert 5 rows, and well, maybe you're off by 1 on all your background colors or something. You know? So that was really tricky.
And it works the same way on all the Office apps, too. Because Word, if you do tables in Word, it has the same kind of UI and the same kind of styles.
Right.
And PowerPoint, same thing.
That's right.
It's
Yeah,
really
when
nice.
it comes to formatting, visual formatting, we did implement the same functionality across all the applications. And it applies to tables and text and charts, as you'll see later.
Yeah.
And the idea, sometimes internally we call it, documents for the 21st century. And the idea is that even if you're not a professional graphic artist, you can select, like you've been able to select in PowerPoint for many years, what a table should look like, what a chart should look like, what your text should look like. And it will all kind of match each other quite well. It will all look well designed down to the very detailed level. And you could make your kind of corporate annual report theme, and it might be,
that's
red
awesome.
and gray.
That's what
and
I'm
white
saying. My friends saw the new ribbon video, that Julie did, and they were going, "Yeah, it looks pretty cool," but I don't know. Is it really useful? Is there depth to the product? And then they get it, and they start playing with some of these features, and it's like, wow, there's depth. There's real depth to this. Yeah. And it changes how you work.
Right. Well, one thing I'd ask kind of our watchers to keep in mind as I do this is just how long did it take me to do certain things?
Yeah.
I've done it before, so, somebody for the first time would have to find the right buttons on the ribbon, but I'm not going to be doing really complicated stuff. It's going to happen so fast, and it's going to look good when I'm done.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the new ribbon. You don't need to memorize all sorts of weird commands or weird places in menus that you have to find things anymore. I mean, when you're playing with the old Excel, you really have to dig around in options to figure out how to make colors. And then you have to play with the border styles to get them to look right. And it's a lot of trial and error. And if you're not that expert at knowing how to do it, you don't even know how to do it. And this one, you just select the table and click on an icon, and it's boom.
Yeah, I think it's a big step.
Go ahead, show it to me. Let's stop talking.
So one of your questions was, how hard is it to apply these things, and what do we have here? And I just wanted to show that Excel understands this as interesting data. So just by scrolling down here with my mouse wheel, see up here, see how the titles of the columns of the table have moved up into the sheet so that I never lose them and I always know what data I'm looking at?
Did that happen automatically?
Yeah.
So you didn't have to select the first cell, like in the old one, you had to select the cell and say freeze pane?
No, I'm not doing anything like that.
Oh.
All I did was I took this data and I said format as table, and I picked a style, a visual style. But it's not just visual, it also has meaning, right? And so another thing is this formula here, I just typed it in. And I typed equals, and I clicked on some things, and minus signs. But look at the way they're named here in the formula bar. 2004 prices, 2002 prices, divided by 2002 prices. Well, the
so
thing
no more
is,
C1, D1, B1, minus F1.
Yeah. I mean, we call this...
I'm impressed already.
Okay.
Are we sold yet?
Well, the hope is that this will reduce the number of errors that people have in their formulas, and they'll write more accurate spreadsheets with less work.
Yeah. And you
and
can
it helps
debug them
me.
easier, too.
Right.
Now, does it...
Right. If I make one and send it to you, you'll have a better shot of understanding what I was doing, because the names will all make sense to you.
If I bring a spreadsheet in that I did with the with the 2003 version, and I had D1 minus C1 minus is equal to F1, does it convert it to names like this?
Well, we don't try to migrate or convert, because it's very important that spreadsheets keep working. Even if you built them 8 years ago, people run their businesses off of spreadsheets, and it's very important to be backward compatible with all the functionality of the past. So we won't convert things, but you will be able to make new tables very easily.
Okay.
And then you'll just naturally start working. Like there's no secret option that you have to check. If you made a table and formatted it nicely, and you just start using the sum or using equals or making a few formulas, they will, by default, pick up the naming. Okay.
Wow.
Cool. So let's show what it takes to analyze this graphically a little bit.
All right.
You can see that my cursor changes here, so I can select this column very easily.
Do that again. So
Sure thing.
I'm zoomed in. Yeah.
So you've always been able to select like a whole column in Excel up here on the bar, but
Right.
now the table itself has these kinds of smart behaviors. So one click, select the whole column. And I talked about applying a data bar. Well, here's data bars. You have different colors, and if I click on one of these, you know, it's that easy, right? I mean, I don't have to fiddle with things. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay.
And you get that out of the box. You don't have to load any weird.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh my god.
And so appreciation, you know, I'm going to do a color gradient, and I pick one of those, and okay, now that's done. And then
obviously undo works.
Sure.
Yeah.
Control Z and undo. Right?
So you can play around and get some real visual looks.
Right.
All in a few seconds.
Yeah, it's very safe because of the undo stack. Yeah.
Can you change the colors?
You can. Yeah, you can go in here and customize
But
these
like
things
that
quite a
green or
lot.
something?
This is the dialog box, and if you went in here and went to edit it, you see how you can set, you know, do you want the percentage midpoint, or do you want the actual value, or do you want your own formula? And you know, you can very richly customize the way these rules are applied. So different scales, we have icon sets that you can apply, etc. But let me.
You said icon sets.
You want to see
Can I
that?
actually import 5 icons and have them put in the chart?
Well, so
In
we
other
do
words, do a
support
graphical-
icons in cells now, so that's a new feature. But in terms of the ones that automatically snap to different values, a set of icons that you might call it a key performance indicator or something like that, we have built-in sets for those. So you don't have total customizability yet, although we've heard some people ask for that.
So if I
in
have
the future.
if I have a column of stock prices, you know, let's say I have 50 stocks and I have a column of stock prices.
You want
I
up
can-
down arrows, you can just.
So I can put a little up down arrow next to each stock.
That's right.
Oh
Yeah.
You couldn't do that in the old version, could you?
No, this is new. This is new.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
And then you saw some.
This is like a Swiss Army knife, one of those infomercials, you know. And
Now
you get
how
more.
much would you pay?
Yeah. How much would you pay for this feature?
Right. So I had some reds and greens over here before, and that didn't take too much work, but it was a little more specific than the things I just did. So we have top and bottom, right? So if we just want to highlight, say, the top 5 states, right, in terms of their appreciation or their migration. In this case, it's migration. I'm just going to click on top N. See how it's kind of automatically doing something here?
Yeah.
And as I change this from 10 to 5, kind of in real time, it's highlighting the data.
Do that
so
again.
I know.
Change it again.
Yeah, I mean, I can bump this up to 25, and it all lights up, or I can just say 5.
That's new too.
Yeah. Yeah, all
I
this stuff.
didn't have that feature. Wow.
But actually, the ones with high migration into the state are good investments. So I want to mark them as green, not red. So I'm going to go into the fills here and pick a color, and now you see more colors. And you could. There's lots of color work that we've done too. Excel actually supports millions of colors in sheet now, where it used to be 56 or something like that. But this is all just part of the new graphical stuff we've done. So there we've got the top migration states in green, and I had some red ones before. And so if I just come here and I say, let's highlight states that have, you know, kind of a meaningful negative migration. So, you know, more than 0.5% of the population moving out of the state, let's flag those as red. And that's how I did it. So, you know, I had to put a little bit of thought into it, but the tools were kind of all right there, just waiting for me to use them. And in a few minutes, I can really start to analyze this.
Yeah.
And, you know, why don't we do that now?
Okay.
Obviously, states where the values of the homes are going up a lot, probably a good sign for investing in that state. They might continue to going up. But I've heard in the news about, you know, housing bubbles. So how do I avoid a housing bubble? Well, based on the data I have here, one thing I should make sure of is that people aren't moving out of the state, right? Because if prices are going up, but there's fewer and fewer people, then that might run out of gas on you, and you might not have a good investment property. So let's sort kind of the red guys and the green guys up to the top. And you can see our new sorting user interface and filtering, and you can actually sort by colors now.
Yep.
And you can do specific filters like top 10, above average, below average. So this has all been overhauled this time. So let me bubble the red ones up to the top. I'm going to watch out for those. And now I'll bubble the green ones up on top of the red ones.
Okay.
I'm interested in these. And we can see that, Nevada is a pretty solid state. I mean, lots of people moving in, high appreciation. Delaware is a lot cheaper, also has pretty decent appreciation, 14.5%, and people moving into the state. So if I didn't have as much money to put down, Delaware might be interesting. But one of the things that, and this data is not connected to a database. So in our last video, we showed a lot of SQL data and all the great, rich feature set that we have there. But we know that not every spreadsheet has a great database behind it. Sometimes people have to make do with whatever they can get.
Yeah, I was just doing a spreadsheet just to an invite list for a party. And so name and email address. And, why do you need a database for that?
Right.
It's only 100 names.
Right. And, so a lot of corporate work is best with a database behind it because everyone gets the same numbers.
Right.
And you hear that in the business intelligence, marketing, and in the industry. And, sometimes people call it one version of the truth. And that's really important. And so we had to make Excel work really great with databases to get that. But there's a lot of other data that's ad hoc. And we want people to be able to analyze that data richly as well. And so that's what you're seeing me do here. But no matter where your data came from, when you learn something cool about it, you probably want to act on that cool thing you learned. And one of the first actions that almost anyone will take is start to talk to other people about, hey, look at this data. Don't you think it means that we might want to invest in Nevada? Right? And so we wanted to make it more seamless to create, to share things. Right? And so let's walk through that really quickly. I'm going to copy my green states. So copy. And I've got a tab over here which I'm calling Final Report.
Where's the tab down there?
Oh, right here. See all our different tabs? This one's called Final Report.
Yep.
And this is basically a rough skeleton for me to paste some data into and format it so that I can print it out and bring it to a meeting and talk about these properties.
Microsofties always love meetings.
Sure. I'm going to paste the data in here, and I'm just going to keep the values because the colors and things we'll set later. But let me grab some of the real stinkers with poor migration and not really good appreciation, and I'm going to bring these over here.
You just did Control-C.
Yeah, Control-C, Control-V, right?
Yep.
And I've got my little options here where I can say just the values. And now I'm going to format this into a rich document to share with other people, to make my point, so to speak. And so one of the first things I want to do is format these guys as tables, right? So my worst states, maybe I'll highlight kind of in red and white. Okay, and my best states, maybe I'll pick a nice blue or something. Blue and white. Where's my blue and white? This one? Oh, this one. This one looks good. Okay. And then I'll start to format my text. And all these styles are just, cell styles, table styles. I'll pick some text styles, heading.
Hold on a second, let me just show those icons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cell styles. I'm going to go here again and pick the subheading, heading 2.
And do that again. Your text changes as you roll over.
That's right.
Items.
That's right.
That's what I really.
This is a new feature of the ribbon, and it's called a live preview.
Yeah.
And before you even commit to something, you can get kind of an idea of what it's going to look like.
I love that because it makes it so much easier to work with things and try things.
There you see it pop. And if I go here, which one of these do I want?
And you can see it changing underneath the menu.
Right.
It's just. It's hard to explain what these little things mean to your productivity, but man, you can go through and try some things out and say, oh, that one looks pretty good.
Right.
Without having to go in and change, 20 items and then say, no, I really didn't like the look. Now I have to spend another 20 minutes changing it all back.
That's right.
And I remember doing this for my bosses at Fawcett, and they would hate my color choices and say, can you please pick red and green instead of blue and gold, and you would have to spend another 20 minutes just changing it all back and making it look good.
Right.
I mean, this is...
Well, sometimes on the office team we talk about this kind of thing. We say, is the feature that you're creating, Mr. Program Manager or Mr. Developer, is that going to save somebody a few minutes, or is it going to save them an hour? And sometimes it's important to save 10 million people 5 minutes a day, right? Because that adds up. But you also need to do some things that save people 3 hours once a month. That's really, people understand that. It's really meaningful to them, right? They get more work done. Their job gets easier. They can do more with less. And so we ask each other that question sometimes. And I think this kind of application of styles is going to take something that people spend a lot of time on today. Yeah. And not everybody's good at it. Some people are and some people aren't. Yeah. It's going to make more people able to do a decent job in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So. Well, I think the trouble will be communicating this to enough people, because you go to a store and you play with this for 2 minutes and it's just not enough time to really understand the impact this has on your life. You only understand it after playing with it for a month. Because I've had it for a month now, and it's like, now I understand. I'm like, I have the Office 12 religion, if you can't tell. The first time I met you, I was like, okay, it looks cool, And it's only after you use it for a while that you go, my God, this completely changes the way you work.
Great. I'm glad you feel that. I mean, in terms of people understanding what we've done, I hope a lot of people try Beta 2 because there'll be a download, and it's the more people who can try it, the more they can just learn for themselves what we've done. So I clicked on a bunch of things. It actually didn't take me very long. Let me just format these as dollars so they kind of look the way you expect. And here's all our different accounting
is saying I only
dates.
have a minute left, by the way.
Oh, really? Do you have another tape?
In my office. Shoot. I'll have to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll do some now and some in a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm picking percentage for the percents and dollars for the dollars, and so the question is, well, is this done? Does this look good enough? And what I can do is move into my new view here, which will show me what it's going to print out like. So Excel now has a new view, page layout view. You can actually see the margins on the page and page numbers and everything, just like in Word. And this is the first release that we've ever had this kind of thing. One of the things we heard all the time was people would print things out in Excel and whoops.
The edge would be cut off.
Yeah.
And then
you have this page with like just a little bit of data on one page. And it got kind of messy for some people.
For some people, everybody, you should watch the printers here, even at Microsoft, where you have some pretty technical people.
But with this view, okay, well, they almost got me, it was almost on the wrong page. And what I can do is just move to my page layout ribbon, and all these things are right here. So, orientation, let's try the landscape orientation. Okay, well, now it fits all on one page.
Yeah.
I don't really want grid lines on my piece of paper, so we can turn all the lines and the headers off, so it's just white. And you see this, click to add header. It's fairly light in color, but if I just click here, I can say, what was this? This is a summary of investment options, right? And then I can add the current date, so we have date and time and things like that as well. Here's current time, here's current date.
Let me just stop and look at how much tape I have, because this thing's freaking out. So hold on a second. Sorry about that. Tape was wigging out. So we're back.
Okay.
So you were showing us printing features.
Right.
This is really cool.
Right. The last thing we were talking about is how do you make sure it prints out with confidence. And I changed the orientation of the page here with the ribbon. And then I added some headers, so now we'll always have the current date on top when we print it, and our summary. And there are other options as well for how you want certain things printed. I mean, you can have page numbers staggered to different sides of the pages, and we call that duplex printing, those kinds of things. So, you know, I'm pretty sure that this would print out correctly the first time, which is great.
Can you turn it to black and white if you have a black and white printer?
I think you can, although I'm not sure exactly where that option is. I haven't used that myself.
In black and white, because
yeah,
if you spend all this time doing these nice color charts and then you're printing out in black and white, maybe it looks a little weird.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do that, but I'm not exactly sure where the option is. So,
okay.
So let's skip that.
No problem.
Right now. You know, one other thing I wanted to show in Excel, kind of for any data, no matter where it came from, before we start building a dashboard out of data on SharePoint, was the charting engine. So I talked about this a few times. I showed a pivot chart last time, pretty briefly. But all these, you know, colors and styles and graphical effects that make it easy to put a report together in 5 minutes, they also apply to the graphics as well. So, and we have a little bit of performance slowness in Beta 1. We're working on that right now. But this is a 3D pie chart in Excel 12. You know, you can click on this and change colors if you want to, or look at all the different options. And you can see up here in the ribbons what some of those options are for different colors, different graphical effects, even different layouts, like should this pie be split apart into pieces, where should the legend go, etc.
Can we go back to the non-chart view before you made it a chart? I just want to see that data again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you wanted to come back to the final here? This?
So you went from this.
Oh, I clicked on a tab. I had some of these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing the Martha Stewart trick. Oh, here's
okay.
Look at my pie.
I did a little work before you guys showed up today. That's true.
I was like, how did you do that? So
I have a few sheets that are already created.
So, but how much work did that? So if you just highlight a grid or a chart. I'm sorry.
Oh, if I wanted to make a chart off of this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure, we could do that. Let me get back into my normal view.
Okay.
So I'll have lots of space to work with now. And what I can do here is just select some of this data. So I'll pick my states and their 2002 prices, and you know, we can just insert a chart.
So you clicked on the insert button.
Right.
What do you call that in the ribbon
this
world?
Is an insert ribbon.
It's not a menu anymore. It's an insert ribbon.
Yeah,
is that what you call it?
Insert ribbon.
Okay.
And now I have different choices for charts, and some of these icons we're updating. They look a little clunky right now.
Okay.
And we could pick something simple like a bar, or we could do a nice pie. We were just looking at a pie, so you know, we could pick one of these again.
Okay.
And you get a chart, and it's in blues that match the blues of your table, right? But if I wanted to do reds, I could do reds, or if I wanted it very bold and colorful, I could pick bold and colorful.
And you just click on the icon.
Yeah,
and
these are just
does
all,
that.
you know, similar to what we looked at with the
No
table
more,
styles.
no more clicking on a slice and changing a color
Right,
and clicking
right.
on another slice. And
You
changing.
can do that. Like sometimes somebody might want to say this particular month or this particular year stands out, and the point I want to make is about that. So I'm going to pick just that one wedge and bright orange the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to underscore my point. But a lot of times people just want something to look professionally done, consistent. They want all their charts to look alike. And these are the kinds of things that sometimes people today pay professionals to do it for them. We want Office to be a good enough tool that they can just use Office in a natural way and get it done.
Right. Is there any way to put icons on each of those wedges?
Yes, you can. You can add background pictures, and I think you can do texture mapping. This is 3D, so it would be a little tricky because it would have to be a texture. You can also overlay shapes and pictures and things just kind of in a layer on top of it if you just want to do flat.
Okay.
And I had a few other charts made. So it's not just that 3D is cool, but even your standard line chart can look very nice, very professionally done.
And that was all automatically done. You didn't have a Photoshop expert sitting back behind you somewhere.
We didn't have a Photoshop expert. You know, I can click this guy and change the colors, and it will change the colors. Or I can, you know,
what's going to happen to Bill Gates'
data
TAs? I don't have to do.
See how I just added the data below it. You know, so just picking these different options.
I'm making a joke because a couple of my friends guys who create slides and stuff for Bill Gates,
Yeah.
like all these, or
Yeah.
all sorts of people at these shows. All these beautiful PowerPoints are done by graphic designers, and now you're creating stuff that looks pretty good.
Well, we'll have
with
to
one
see.
click. Huh?
I mean, Bill is a very busy man, so maybe he'll still need that, or maybe those people will go even beyond everything you see here using the new tools that are available. But yeah, I think we are catching up. We're catching up not just with one segment of an industry, but with what people expect. Right? When you go to the web, when you look at an annual report, when you get something in the mail from your realtor, like, you should be able to create things that look that good in Office. And so that's our challenge, and that's what we're trying to rise to here. Here's a bar chart with a little bit of transparency and different colors. You get the idea. So
Yep.
even simple charts can look really great, and it's not just about looking great. It's about saving people time again with the layouts that will match what people need to get done, and graphical styles that will let you choose, and not futz around with each individual setting for 2 hours, but just pick one, and you're ready to roll.
Yep.
Okay?
Really
So I
cool.
also wanted to show our Channel 9 people what it would take to build a dashboard. And so I'm going to close
What
this
is a
workbook
dashboard?
down.
Because that term has been thrown around
Right.
by various companies and various people
Right.
at various times.
That's a good question. I'm sure you'd find lots of different definitions, but to me, a dashboard is like a heads-up display. It is a page, usually a web page, but it doesn't have to be, that has a lot of information about what you need to do as an employee, or factors you need to worry about as a manager, or as a C-level executive, the goals for your business and how people are tracking to those goals. There's the very rich scorecards. We showed the business scorecard manager last time, where you can be very detailed and have comments on every metric, and roll unified metrics across the whole company, and have related information for each one. That's a great way to get a large organization all on the same page in terms of what are our goals and how do we measure them and how do we track toward them. But there are much simpler kinds of dashboards. I mean, as a Microsoft manager, I have a site that shows me my employees and how they're doing in terms of performance and compensation and sick time. And okay, I'd call that a dashboard. I mean, it has a lot of information in it,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't have little metrics that I'm missing by 3% or something. So a dashboard is useful information that it takes to do your job or run your business, kind of condensed, so that there's a lot of info in a short amount of space or small amount of space.
Okay.
And since so much information and data is in Excel, we really wanted Excel to participate in web dashboards. And so I'll show what it takes to do that. I'm going to close this down,
All right.
not save any changes or anything. And I'll open up another workbook that I've already made here on my desktop. Let's see. I think I called it. Yeah, here it is. Okay. And this is data from a database. This is corporate analysis services data.
Okay.
In this case, we're using the sample database AdventureWorks with bike data, and I can enable this database access just like that. And these are those formulas that I talked about briefly last time. OLAP formulas, they fetch data right out of analysis services and put it right into the Excel sheet.
Right.
And so you can see cube value, and there's a name of a connection, and then it's based on sales amount and internet or mountain bikes, and you get just that little slice of the interesting data.
Yep.
And then this chart is based on all these cells. And I even made some fake kind of data that's not supposed to go outside the organization here in red, just to illustrate the point that sometimes you want to share certain things out of a workbook, but not everything.
Right.
Right. And if I go down to the sheet number 2, you see that sheet number 2 is considered kind of internal data as well.
Okay.
Okay. And I can change these things. So I have basically this is a tiny little MDX statement, and it's a way that you communicate with analysis services, SQL analysis services, or other MDX compatible OLAP servers. And it's just saying that the data I want to look at right now is fiscal year 2002. right? So it's not too hard to decompose. I could come in here by hand and just kind of change it to 2003, and the formulas all update with that new information out of the database. So that's just, it's Excel working with the database, and the chart updates and everything updates.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is publish this information to use with the server. So here I'm going to click on Publish. I do have a website set up here.
So you just went File, Send, Publish?
Yeah, and I'm going to publish the whole workbook. See how this says entire workbook right here? I have a few options.
Yep.
And this name is okay. It will just overwrite the little test I did earlier today. So publish. It should ask me to overwrite the file.
Thinking.
Yeah. Hopefully that server doesn't have a lot of load on it right now.
It is beta stuff.
Okay, did find it. Do you want to replace the file? Yes.
Yep.
This is metadata that I can fill out because this lives in a document library in SharePoint, and SharePoint is very rich these days in terms of check-in, check-out, and managing your content. I get to pick what type of content is it, give it titles and descriptions, owner, I could put my own name down as the owner, status, draft or final. This is fine for now, so I'm just going to click OK.
Yep.
Those SharePoint properties. And then what I'll get is a browser window will open, and it will preview my workbook that I just published. So here comes the browser window. You see that an operation is working, and here is that workbook. And I published the whole workbook. Right?
Now this is on SharePoint.
This is on SharePoint, okay. Right?
Now
So just to show you, here's the Excel window with the ribbon,
yep,
and the chart and the data, and here's the browser window with the chart and the data. And
now let's say I'm a new employee and I don't have Office 12 yet loaded. Would I be able to look at the SharePoint without having anything loaded?
Yes. Yes, it's all the way thin, HTML, JavaScript, doesn't do license checking on the front end. I'm not exactly sure what packaging will be like for these products, so somebody would need to own Excel services and the SharePoint server and have the right licenses. But in terms of deployment and the headaches of making sure somebody has a little bit of code on every client machine, no, there's no requirement for that. And what I can do here, you see this little pane is for a parameter. So, I have my little parameter here, and I typed in it in the cell in Excel last time, remember, just to show that it works. But I can punch that into the browser here because it's been called out as something that you're allowed to change as an end user, and it updates the spreadsheet model. Can you see well? Here, I'll just turn it a little bit. So when I click Apply with 2002, you see that the chart actually shifted and the numbers here shifted.
Yep.
It recalculated that spreadsheet, and it actually fetched new data from analysis services, all thin here. So I have an interactive workbook that I've published. But it's the whole workbook. Like, it has the different sheets and everything, and it's not really ready to be built into a dashboard that contains other kinds of information.
Right.
So let me show you what it would take to do that. Come back to my spreadsheet, same workbook, that one we've been using all along. And what I'll do here is I'll just go to my publish command again. And I mentioned that we had a parameter here. So a parameter is any cell that you give a name to, named range, that can take a value. So I've defined this name, I've added it as a parameter. But I'm not going to publish the entire workbook this time. I only want certain items to be visible.
Sorry, we should have closed your door.
Yeah, right. And the items that will be visible here are my chart, so I'm going to click the chart, and then this range of financial data right here. And I think I named that guy sales range. And again, the naming, it's just Excel naming. So you select a region, you type in this little box here, sales range, and that becomes a named range in Excel.
Okay.
And let me give it a slightly different number here. We'll call it, 3. That way.
So you just changed the name?
Yeah, I'm just changing the name so it doesn't overwrite. And I'll publish. And again, these are the properties from SharePoint, but in this case I don't need to fill them out. And I also have the box checked again that I'll get my preview in the browser. So it's saving it, and here comes the browser. Oh, now just the chart rendered. Okay?
Wow.
And I have a little box here. It's showing me this item, chart 9. But I can also see my sales range. And when I click sales range, then just that range shows. And there's no sheets, there's no tabs, and even with our web service API, there is no way to get Excel services to return data that is not in the ranges that have been marked for web interactivity. So this is a great way to have secret sauce for your company in terms of calculations and formulas and database queries and everything else, but share specific pieces of information with other people.
So people who come in on the website can't get to the formulas beneath these numbers?
That's right.
They can just see the number.
That's right.
And they can't see all that confidential
Right.
information you
That's
have on
right.
your spreadsheet.
And that's all managed with rights and roles in SharePoint. So there's one right which says you're allowed to look at the data that Excel services calculates. There's another right which says you can actually open the Excel file, the full file, and do what you want with it. So if you're an author, you need to be able to open the whole file, make changes, and save it back.
Right.
But if you're a consumer, you don't need the whole file.
Right. Could I, if I had a spreadsheet with, let's say, my team's sales data and then Team Foo's sales data, could I make a dashboard that lets me see my team's sales data, or lets my team see their team sales data, but not Team Foo's, and then the boss, let's say I'm doing a dashboard for my boss, I can turn it both on for him?
Yeah, there would be a few options as how to build that. One is the permissions in the database itself could return just the records for your team based on your role, and the boss might be able to see multiple teams worth of records. So you could build a workbook that showed data, but the query in the database would actually return fewer rows because of the way you manage permissions there. The other option would be through personalization in the dashboards, or which dashboards are you allowed to see. You could actually have a whole custom dashboard experience for the boss, and more specific dashboard experience for other people on the team.
Okay.
So we have these kind of building blocks now, and it didn't take much work. I just needed a named range, and I did my publish, and I picked items rather than a whole workbook. And now let's show how I can create a dashboard out of these things. So I'm going to go back to this Report Center website in SharePoint, and I'm going to the reports place, and I'm going to say, actually let me save this shortcut to the latest workbook that we just saved. Just copy the shortcut. And then I'm going to say new multi-report summary page. Now it's kind of a long term, but to me it means dashboard, right? I'm going to have multiple pieces of information all summarized on one page.
Okay.
And when I create one of these and give it a name, I'll call it Channel 9 Dashboard.
Sorry. I'm making everybody yell here a little bit.
Okay.
Looking for your cursor, sorry. All right.
And what you see here is kind of a draft, very draft framework for dashboards. So you see that there's a filter button here, apply filters. So in many cases you'd want to be able to slice a dashboard to see just one product or just one team or just one month or 1 year, that kind of thing. You might have related information, contact details for me since I'm the creator of this thing. And here's some Excel web access web parts, but they don't have a workbook attached to them yet.
Right.
So what I can do is let me move one of the Excel web parts over here. So now I've got two Excels side by side. I don't think I really need the related information for the purposes of our demo. And let's see. Oh, I had some KPIs that I built before you guys came. And
What is KPI again?
Yeah, that stands for Key Performance Indicator.
Okay.
And there is a definition in a SQL Server Analysis Services cube, or Unified Dimensional Model, which lists these, they're essentially little formulas, little metrics that you can use consistently across your organization to track your performance.
Okay.
And SharePoint has a list type and a web part that can suck those out of analysis services and display them on the screen. Very similar to that scorecarding that we showed last time. So I'm going to click Add a Web Part. I'm going to pick a KPI list, add, and now I'm going to have to pick which KPI list. So if I click this little link here, I'll get a pane with properties, and I can click to choose the KPI list. I think this is the one I made this morning, testing KPIs. Okay, and I don't necessarily need the little toolbar there, and I'll click OK. And we should get a web part here, and it should fetch data, and there it goes. So you get the icon, the trend, the value, all coming from SQL Analysis Services.
Wow.
And that, that only took a few minutes for me to put together. And now what about the Excel information that we had? Well, okay, let's get the chart. So I can modify the web part, or I can just click this link. I'll just say modify the web part. And if you remember, I copied the URL to the workbook, so I'm going to paste it here. So now that I've got my workbook to display pasted in. And if you remember when we were using the little drop down to choose, do you want to see the chart or the range? They were called sales range and chart 9. So I'm just going to say chart 9 is what I want to see. There's a few other minor options. I don't really want a toolbar that shows me the Excel choices that I can do in my little dashboard, so I'm going to turn off the toolbar. Also, that pane that let you plug parameters in, well, I'm going to hook parameters up to one of these filters, so I don't want the pane to appear.
Right.
So show parameters task pane, turn off, and because I did this once before, I know that the chart is about, I think, 500 wide or something like that. So just so we get the size right on the first go, I'm just going to plug 500 wide in. But it does do its best to resize itself, even if you don't do that.
Okay.
So click OK, and I expect that chart to appear in this box. There it is. Okay, so I've got the chart, I've got my KPIs. Now I'll put the sales data on the left. So I'll open up the pane again. I'll plug that URL in here, and it was called, I think, sales range. Okay, and same kind of thing. I'll turn off the toolbar, and I won't show the task pane. But I'm just making choices in the options here.
Yep.
I'm not actually, writing any code or doing stuff that's too confusing to build this. Okay, so I've got some data here, some data here. I should probably make it a little taller, this web part, because it's not showing everything right now. Okay, so to make this last one, appearance, and what's height? Okay, sure. How about 600 high? Okay. Okay, there we go. Looks pretty good. And now I need a filter that will drive these guys. So I'll choose a filter. Here's an analysis services filter. Okay, great. That's exactly what I want. And I'm waiting for my little... Oh, now I have to open the pane. Okay, click the link on the filter part. And now I need to... well, actually, so it asks for a name. I'll call it the date range. This is like the date range for all the data on the page. And here it says, is there another web part on this page where I can pick up the data connection? Like, can I pick it up from the KPI list, for example? And yeah, that'd be great, because they use the same data. That's how they'll manage to slice each other correctly. And then I'll just pick date. These are all the dimensions in the cube, date. And then it will refresh, and I'll pick the fiscal date as the sub. Fiscal date. Everybody likes fiscal dates. Okay. I'm going to click that. You see that it gave me a little browsable choice here. So let me exit design mode, and we can test this thing. Exit the design mode. And here's the data for all years, all months, etc. And when I browse the date ranges, and I pick, no, just 2002, and I apply that by clicking this button, it should affect all the parts on the page. So these numbers should be smaller. There, 16 million is smaller. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do something. So this still says 2003, even though this says 2002. It managed to slice the KPIs, but not Excel. And I forgot to do one thing, and that's why I did that. I need to modify the part, and I need to just connect these guys together. So see connections. You can have another part on the page drive which workbook you open, or you can have it drive the filter or the parameters. So I'm going to get my filter from the date range into this web part. It will have me confirm exactly what I want to do here. There we go. Parameter is time period. Okay. And I need to do the same thing for the chart.
Okay.
So I'm going to get my filter from the filter. I'll get my little box again. Time period. Okay. Oh, and there you already see 2002. So this was 2003 before. The chart looks different.
Yep.
So now, pretty sure everything's working correctly. So I'll just click OK. And we're out of design mode. And I can, now choose to my heart's content. And these are hierarchical. I mean, you can go down into halves or quarters or whatever you want to see here.
It's pretty cool.
But
so we're running pretty.
We're getting close to the end. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't take me very long to do this. Now, not every business user is going to be able to build their own dashboard. But if a few of the savviest finance people and accountants and everybody in IT could build something useful in 20 minutes out of Excel building blocks, not have to write code necessarily, that's pretty powerful.
Very powerful. This is just like
yeah.
It's very cool.
Well, I could show one more thing if we have time, or if we're running out of tape again. I could just say thank you very much for coming by today.
Yeah, we'll come back. I mean,
yeah, when we've got beta 2, we could show even more stuff with beta 2.
We'll be back soon. So,
but I agree with.
I'll be in this building a lot over the next couple months, from what it looks like. So
okay, cool.
We'll come back and see you. This is really great. I mean, this is a lot to chew on, anyways.
Yeah.
So, getting through and trying out charts and pivot tables and all this fun stuff. So.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.